Hey guys, it's Cody Jones with Jangus Genetics LLC, and I've got Jangus Duke back here, and I've got to look it up. I think he's 3 this year. I think he just turned 3. I bet he's 3.5 because he's a spring-born bull. I had a video question the other day. Someone wanted to know how long can you use a bull? How often should you switch him out? And so I just wanted to talk about my thoughts on that and my practices and what I'm doing, what I've seen through my family's business at Jones Angus Farms, and some of the conversations that I've had and experiences and things that I've read about and experiences that I've seen. So if you are wanting to breed a lot of cows and you're wanting to do it in a short amount of time, somewhere between, I get a lot of confidence from a 2-year-old to a 4-year-old bull. 18 months is probably okay if you've been taking good care of them. Again, nutrition, quality of care is going to play into a big factor if you're using a young bull. I've seen bulls at 8 months old breed cows, breed heifers. If you're not careful and you've got the right genetics and you've been taking good care of them, rotationally grazing them or adding some foodstuffs, they will do that. Now in nature, if you think about it, 15 months, and that's when I feel comfortable turning a bull out. In nature, that would be in a natural environment, just letting them out on the range, leaving them alone. That's when they would get that experience in a natural cycle. And what that is the calf's going to be, let's say they're born September 1st. It'll be a year before they're September again, and then that mom would be back in the heat again 3 months later. And so that 15 months would be that ideal first turnout. And we always tell people, and what I've always heard from vets, and I think this is industry standard, is that a bull will breed 1 cow per month of age starting at about 10 months. 12 months is safe. And again, they'll do it earlier if you have the right genetics. But we've sold a bunch of 12-month-old bulls. Usually people are going to use them on a heifer or two, just keep them out all winter long, and so they won't really see much action. And then at 18 months old, that bull can breed, well taken care of, can breed as many cows as they're ever going to breed. Usually is kind of the standard. The old West, they used to tell you that if you wanted to know how many cows somebody had, you just counted the bulls, multiply them by 50. And I'm here to say that you're gonna have to do what you're comfortable with on this one, right? So with a bull like this, he's a grass type bull, low maintenance, easy fleshing. He's in good flesh. He was a little fat. He's actually lost a little bit of weight, which was probably good for him this year. I wouldn't hesitate to turn out, if I was watching my cows and I knew my bull and had him, probably a semen test would be a good thing there, just to make sure everything was kosher. But watching your cows is the key to making sure they're not continuing to cycle. I don't know, 35 to 45 cows I think would be probably about right for him in a 60 to 90 day period. I think he would handle that. And so if you're breeding a lot of cows, that's what you want. You want somewhere between probably 2 years to 4 years old. We used to have a trade-in program when I was a kid, before trichomoniasis came into the state, and we'd sell you a yearling bull. You could bring that bull back and trade him out for a yearling bull of a different bloodline if you were keeping heifers up to his 4th birthday. We'd have an older bull to sell. Your customer didn't have to mess around at the sale barn. They knew their bull was, going back, especially those that really care and wanted to keep a gentle bull, they knew they were going back into a program where someone was going to use them as a breeding bull. And it was a good system all the way around, but we don't do that anymore. But that 4th birthday is when you start hitting some depreciation. And so there's kind of a reason for that. And when I got into this, I had a bunch of questions for my dad and different things. And finally, I just started doing some of my own research too. And the closest thing I could come up to was bison in a natural type environment. And most of those heavy breeding, aggressive breeding bison bulls were dead after their 4th birthday. They kind of were coming on and they'd, chase a few cows, and then they'd get to fighting with the real bulls, and they were usually done by 4 years old. And I think that's kind of the same thing. A 4, 5, 6 year old bull, I wouldn't be afraid to use those. I've used some bulls up to, I think 8. I think Elston was 8 when I finally let him go. And the thing that gets those bulls is going to be back legs. They grow until they're 4 years old. They're putting on frame, and then they start putting on fat, and they start really fluffing out, and they look good. They look cool. So if you're looking for a bull that's going to go out and stand over the top of your cows and look good, usually that 4 to 5, 6-year-old bull is probably going to be optimum, but they're putting a lot more weight on those back 2 legs when they're breeding a cow. And so usually what gets those bulls is going to be a back leg going out. They might get injured if you got multiple bulls together, or you know, a lot of briars, barbed wire fences sometimes will get those older bulls. There's just a lot of things out there, a rock, you know, sticker bush. There's a lot of things that can injure an older bull, any bull, but an older bull especially, because they just get a lot more weight. They're not as nimble. They're starting to get kind of like me. I'm 32. I'm starting to get a little stiff. It's harder to move around, and you know, those bulls are kind of the same way. They're getting middle-aged, and they're slowing up. And so you keep them much past that. If you're going to be expecting to breed, you know, 45, 50 cows, you may be wanting to add a few bulls into your program, or you know, moving them on. And there's probably a lot of value if you're not keeping heifers and keeping an older bull. A lot of this young bull stuff is for heifers. You don't want a big 1,800, 2,000 pound bull running around riding down your, you know, your 700, 800, 900 pound heifers. So a lot of our customers will sell that older bull by the time he's 4 and get him a new one, just lighter on the heifers, and raise up a younger bull in their program. But as far as how long they can go, I've seen bulls go 10, 12 years. Ian Mitchell Ines at the Greg Judy Grazing School I took a few years ago said, sell them by the time they're 4, because then they're going to be the biggest animal in the herd. They're going to get struck by lightning. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. You know, they're, like we talked about, their back legs are a vulnerable point. Their back is a vulnerable point, but lightning is honestly something to think about. If you think, from my experience, it's usually the biggest cow you've got or the bull. And they'll be usually up under a tree or something, but that lightning goes through and it wants to find the best grounded spot, and it's the heaviest animal, and there's a lot of truth to that. And so the other advantages to having a younger bull, of course, is buying a yearling bull, 15 months old, using them light on some heifers or something. You get them used to your program. So if you're going to be selling a bigger bull like this, they're kind of used to their ways. One of the issues that I've seen is if you're going to leave a bull out with your cows all year long, a lot of our customers, they don't pull their bulls, and so they get used to that. And so if the bull's been out with the same cows for 4 or 5 years, and then you take him off, he's going to be mad about it. He's going to go look for him. And you know, so that's something to think about. If you're buying a yearling bull, you can pretty much, the fences are easier. They're easier to work with, and get them trained up to your system. Get them trained to you and your call and your working facilities and how you handle your cows. And if you pull them out, you know, you get them used to those pins and different things, and you kind of get them trained up. Where if you're going to go buy an older bull, you're going to have a little bit more cow sense, maybe a little bit better facilities, and you know, just depending on the bull there for sure. But there's others that they're just bigger, and a fence, you know, like this one behind me here is not going to, even with a good hot wire, it's not going to be much to a bull this size. If he really wants to go, he's just going to go. A yearling bull, you still got the bluff on him. Got a few flies today, but anyway, those are kind of some of the things that I would think about. If you're wanting to breed a lot of cows, a 2 to 4 year old bull is prime. If you're going to keep a bull for a long time, kind of like buying a car, you know, you might buy them young, get them trained to your system, and then just keep them until they're older. If you're trying to find a good value and you're not breeding a lot of heifers or any heifers, you know, you might get a bull that's started to depreciate, a 5, 6 year old bull, and you might get along fine. Just be aware that, you know, I'd want to get a semen test, and I'd want to talk to the people that I'm buying them from, kind of understand those genetics. Again, these are grass type bulls, and they don't get, they do start to put on fat after 4 or 5 years old, or well, even a little sooner. But they'll just get, once a bull hits that 4 years old and they stop growing frame, they're going to start putting on a lot of mass. In what Kit Fro calls a diesel bull, a bull that's made for terminal environments, you know, a bull that's going to get up 2,400 pounds, that's an awful lot of weight on those back legs. And you know, there's not as much there to support them. The likelihood of injury, I would think, increases. So if you get a good deal on something that you like and you want, you know, I'm not saying not to, but these bulls like this, they get up 1,800, 2,000 pounds. the bone structure isn't that much heavier usually on those bigger bulls than it is on a good bull like this. And so I would think that a grass type bull is going to last a lot longer, if nothing else for that reason. You know, an extra 400 to 600 pounds on your back 2 feet is going to make a big difference. It's going to make a difference on the longevity of your cows sometimes too, depending on the size of them and what your goals are. But those are some things to think about. I'm sure I've missed some stuff. If you guys have thoughts and comments, you know, about what I'm doing here, what you've seen be successful, leave those down below, and like and hit that subscribe button. I sure appreciate you.